Maria Shriver is in the house this morning. She is a dear friend that we really love and appreciate, part of the renowned Kennedy family, the former First Lady of California, a powerhouse in her own right. Maria, come on up and talk to us a minute. Give God a praise for Maria joining us. So glad to see you. How you doing?
Good, good.
Welcome, welcome. Take a seat for a minute. Isn't that wonderful?
That's wow.
Have we got a mic on her? Yeah, you got a mic, I got a mic.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go.
Wow, I've heard about this for so many years, and I'm so honored to be here. It is incredible. Thank you for welcoming me.
We love you. Maria and I have some history. She was one of my guests on the talk show when we were doing the talk show. She also was recently, I think last time I saw you, were at Oprah's house.
That's right. I was coming out of the bathroom and you were wandering around there.
Yeah, she's running around at Oprah's house with no shoes on, Beverly. You know you're at home. Just chilling at Oprah's, having a good time, and I'm running around looking and seeing everything, and so we've encountered and come together. Have a seat, make yourself comfortable. We're going to talk for just a minute, and then I'm going to share the word of the Lord with you. You have done so many incredible things and lived your life in the spotlight and maintained your class and dignity and poise in a way that is just unprecedented. Yes. You founded one of the nation's largest conferences for women, and I want to talk a little bit about that because some of them won't know. Let me tell you, I almost got to speak there. I got real close. I mean, she has like a gazillion women coming from everywhere to this meeting. What is your passion for women, and is that reflected in the book you just did?
Well, I have a new book out, and it's called I've Been Thinking, because I have been thinking a lot these last several years, and it's a book of reflections, prayers, and meditations. And you were singing here earlier, and you were saying that God, we can't make it on our own, and that's one of the things that I've really discovered in my life. I was raised Catholic, but I found my relationship with God to have really been instrumental in helping me navigate the spotlight with my head high and my shoulders back, and trying to move through it as a woman, the kind of woman I wanted to be. So my goal with the Women's Conference and my goal with this book was really for people to see the divinity that's in each and every one of us, to see that we're all capable of being what I call architects of change.
Absolutely. I could really take the whole service and talk to you. You know, this is an era in history where women are reaching levels that were unthought of before.
Thank God. Well, unthought of by maybe some, but not unthought of by a lot of the women.
Yeah, well, you fought your way up, and you got dirt in your fingernails, and there were pioneers in the way, but there was a time in America's history that women were not in the roles that they are today. And let's thank God for it. As we have a very diverse congregation of different cultures and kinds, but as an African American, we can relate to that struggle and that tough process of becoming. And to those women out here of all types and kinds who are really seeking significance, what do you say to them? What do you say in this book? What do you say?
Well, I say that we all need help, first of all, and I think there's great strength in asking for help. That's why I liked the song that we were singing when I walked in, is God Can Help Us. And I think one of the things I've learned is that it takes strength to ask people for help. And I think we all have a role here. We all have a purpose. We are all here for some specific reason. And in the book, I talk about faith, I talk about power, I talk about success, I talk about family, I talk about forgiveness, because I think these are the issues that we want to think about when we think about living a meaningful life. And I've discovered for myself, a meaningful life is a connection with God, it's a connection with my community, it's about a purpose bigger than myself. I learned that from my mother. I learned how important it was to stay connected to my family, and my family is much larger than just my blood relatives, and I think that's really important.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. You come to learn that a lot of people don't realize that your family extends beyond people who are kin to you, it goes to a lot deeper level in life. You know, there might be somebody who's sitting out there, well, she's former First Lady of California. She's a Kennedy. She's part of an American dynasty that is highly respected in this country. And they would think you couldn't relate to them because maybe they work for the Postal Service, or maybe they are working 2 jobs trying to make ends meet, or they've had the death of lost ones. They've been through tests and trials, but your life has not been a flowery bed of ease.
No, I think that we all have so much more in common than I think any of us realize. And that's part of what I've been trying to say on this tour promoting this book, is that we all bleed, we all grieve, we all suffer losses. We all have to dig down. As I say to my children, don't expect a free ride. Something's going to happen to you, right? And how you navigate that something, how you pick yourself up, that's something that we all have in common.
Around here, when you talk like that, we say, preach it, sister.
Preach it, sister, that's right.
Something is going to happen. I don't care who you are, where you live, what color you are, how much money you make. You're going to go through something that really shakes you down to your core. And for us, faith is the only thing that takes you through the really tough time. Can I get a witness in here?
I think, when you were saying, Pastor, when you were saying you were going to get a hug like you're a runaway child,
Yeah.
I think all of us at some place, at some time in our lives, feel like that runaway child or that lost child, that we need a hug, we need community, we need somebody to reach out. And this is really what this book is about, is I hope that it'll end up on the bedside table of men and women, people of all ages, because I think we're really in a time when we need to think about how to come together. And one of the things I hope in female leadership is that we bring men to the table, that we reach across and say, this is what we're thinking about. What are you thinking about? What's in your heart? How can we help you? Because women, if they have the chance to leave, we got to do it differently. And we've got to do it in a more collaborative, compassionate, caring way.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love the title, first of all. I've been thinking, because, most people don't do much thinking. We're seeing the dumbing down of America. We're seeing the kinds of reality shows and foolishness on that promotes some sort of subliminal disregard for intellectualism and intelligence. And I have found, as a person, as a leader, as a pastor, as a father, that my thought life has all the world to do with my physical life.
Amen.
And I want to challenge you, because a lot of you think you've been thinking, but what you've really been doing is worrying. There's so much difference between worrying and thinking. And to have the reflections of somebody who is a survivor, been in the spotlight, been in the storm, knows what it is to endure and rise again, is an amazing thing. Speaking of rising, your sales on this book, talk to me, look, help a brother out now, look, because this woman is selling these books like they are cookies and she's a Girl Scout. I mean, they are just like absolutely everywhere. Tell us about the success this book has had.
Well, I'm humbled by it, but it tells me that we're all really, once again, much more alike than we are different. I think we're all looking for assistance in how to think about these big issues. What does success mean? Does it mean likes on social media, or does it mean connection with another human being? What is faith? If our faith is wavering or wandering, how do we get it back? What does power really mean? What is intestinal fortitude? How do we become part of a community? How do we reach out beyond our zip code? What is forgiveness? How do we forgive ourselves? What is that really about? What does that take? These are all the issues. When I was talking to someone about the concept of forgiveness, which is so difficult, I think he said to me, first and foremost, you have to begin by forgiving yourself. You have to begin by loving yourself, being compassionate to yourself, and then everybody else is pretty easy after that. Right. And I think that the other thing that I try to say is that our mind is our greatest asset. And it can drive us crazy worrying, or if we have skills like meditation or the ability to take a walk or the ability to quiet ourselves, we can get in touch with what we think is meaningful, with how we want to go out into the world, because most of the time we have one chance to make a good impression, as my mother said. As she used to always say, and my grandmother, everybody's a vote. Go out and make sure that you make a really good impression. But I think you have to reflect and pause so that when you go out, you're going out from a place of compassion and kindness. It's tough to be kind, right? And yet you get so much more back. You want to be loving, you want to be kind, you want to be caring. And that's what this book is about, what I've learned and how I've evolved to those places.
Let's say it real for just a second. I won't take much more of your time, but you and I both care about a common cause, and I know that you've been on the front lines dealing with Alzheimer's. And really fighting for the kinds of treatment and the kind of dignity that affliction deserves as it attacks so many people today. What I didn't get to ask you when we were on the interview, and since I got to ask you now, tell me about what happened in your life that made you care so much about Alzheimer's.
Well, my father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and my father was the architect of the Peace Corps, the War on Poverty, the Job Corps, Legal Services for the Poor, AmeriCorps, VISTA. So this was an incredibly brilliant man. There wasn't anything I couldn't ask him that he couldn't answer. And to sit across from someone like that who looks at you and says, "Who are you?"
Right.
What is that on your face?
Yeah.
What is that on your head, right? To see the mind go like that, it made me determined to try to understand what was that and how I could prevent other families from going through that same thing. 2/3 of all the caregivers in our country today are working women. We have more than 15 million people caring for people with Alzheimer's, another 40 million caring for special needs children and other things. And nobody knows why we get Alzheimer's. And nobody knows why 2/3 of all the brains that get Alzheimer's are women. So I'm very determined and purpose-driven to fund research into women's brains to understand how we can support all the millions of people who are caregiving. And when you think about those people, they're working 24/7 and they're never acknowledged.
Right.
And I always say to my children, if you want to know what love is, go meet a caregiver. That is love in action.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, before I get back to my service, I want you to deliver a message. You're going to sign some of these books after.
I hope so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I hope. Thank you.
Exercise your fingers. We are quite a group of readers here. I want you to go back and tell your brother that you beat him to my church.
I know. I talked about it with him yesterday.
Did you?
I said, I already know the bishop. And he goes, I want to go there.
Yeah.
That's right. And I had dinner on Sunday with Oprah, and she said, you're not going to go preach at the Potter House, are you? I said, no, but I am going to talk to the bishop. She said, you better get your A game on, because that's the best preacher in America. Girl, you better get your game on.
Church, what you might not realize is that her brother is the founder of Best Buddies, and our church is the first church in the country to have a chapter of Best Buddies. Give it up for Maria Shriver. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You're amazing. Much love to you. She'll be in the lobby right after service. You'll have an opportunity to meet her personally, and you can tell them you're a part of the Kennedys if you want to. Said, I was late because I was hanging out with the Kennedy family. Just me and Maria, just kicking it for Jesus. Amen. Isn't that cool? One more time, clap your hands and let's appreciate her.